Mom shared a tender moment with her conjoined twins before doctors risked trying to separate them. Christian and Nicole McDonald waited anxiously in the pediatric ICU. After all, a team of surgeons had just spent 16 hours operating on the couple's twins. In fact, the 13-month-old boys born conjoined at the head had already endured several surgeries, but the final cranial separation was the riskiest of them all. Of course, such an operation had been months in the making, including planning, prepping, and other surgeries. But for the parents, the tough journey began in 2015 when the babies were still in utero. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. At the time, the McDonalds lived in a small town in Illinois where Nicole worked as a pediatric physical therapist. She and her husband Christian, a truck driver, took shifts raising their 3-year-old son Azam. At first, they were excited Nicole was pregnant again. Christian even accompanied her to her first ultrasound in May 2015. In fact, when the ultrasound technician announced you're having twins, it was a surprise, but one they were happy to welcome. Only just after the appointment, Nicole received an urgent call from the doctor's office. They told her she needed to return immediately. Since Christian had already gone back to work and Nicole was home, she phoned her family for help and support. Leaving Asa with his great-grandmother, Nicole returned to the ultrasound clinic with her mother, where she underwent a second ultrasound and received troubling news. Yes, the twins she was carrying were conjoined. From what it appears, they share a head, the doctor told her. We don't know how much. In fact, conjoined twins are already a rare phenomenon, but craniopagus twins, those conjoined at the head, are even less common. Such births happen only once in every 2.5 million deliveries. Conjoined twins are genetically identical twins who come from a single egg. In normally developed identical twins, the egg splits to create 2 separate embryos. However, in conjoined twins, the egg doesn't fully separate and the embryos develop with some parts fused together. Because they literally share the same brain, cranially conjoined twins face more difficulties than most. More often, conjoined twins are attached at the torso, called thoracopagus twins. Typically, craniopagus twins don't survive gestation. For those that are born alive, 80% do not live past the age of 2 unless they're surgically separated. The McDonalds therefore had a difficult decision to make. Indeed, doctors and family members suggested terminating the pregnancy, but Nicole ultimately decided to carry the twins as long as she could. Her mother told her, "God gave you these babies, they're meant for you."
There were some people who had suggested it, and so with that suggestion, it made Christian want to explore all those options and what that would mean, but for me, it was never an option.
Nicole gave birth on September 9, 2015 to 2 attached but otherwise healthy twin boys, Jaden and Ananias. Of course, the boys required special needs. For instance, they couldn't fit in a crib, so instead they slept in the middle of a queen-size bed with a pillow between them. Instead of riding in a typical car seat, moreover, the boys would have to lay on the floor of the McDonald's minivan and be watched carefully. Christian and Nicole knew that the boys needed surgical separation if they were going to survive. Thankfully, the world's leading expert in craniopagus surgery, Dr. James Goodrich, took their case. Dr. Goodrich practiced at the Children's Hospital in Montefiore Medical Center in the Bronx, New York. He'd completed 7 conjoined twin separations in his career and consulted on 13 others. Now he had to prepare to take on the most difficult case of his career. The McDonalds would need to be near the hospital for several months during the lead-up to the surgery. Therefore, Christian and Nicole both quit their jobs and moved from their town of 5,000 people to the Bronx. The family has been relying on donations on a GoFundMe account to cover expenses. Fortunately, and thanks to an outburst of public support after a CNN special hosted by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the GoFundMe has raised over $250,000. Of course, the support overwhelmed Nicole and Christian, but they needed all the support they could get, both financially and emotionally. After all, the twins had to have 3 surgeries before the actual separation surgery. Each time, Dr. Goodrich stretched the skin on the boys' heads. The increased skin would allow the plastic surgeon to complete a cranial reconstruction for each of the boys once they were separated. Even with a meticulous early planning, though, the final separation surgery carried high risks. Christian and Nicole were well aware that one or both of their boys might suffer brain damage or even death. With that in mind, on October 13, 2016, they kissed Jaden and Ananias as the medical team wheeled them into their 4th and final surgery. The McDonalds stood by, waiting to see if their boys would survive. Then, after an excruciating 16 hours, they finally received the news. Yes, the doctors had successfully separated Jaden and Ananias. Excitingly, the medical team moved Jaden to the ICU to begin recovery. However, the doctors needed to perform extra work on Anais, who had always been the weaker twin even when conjoined. Anais had suffered from several seizures during the surgery, counting one attack that had gone on for 3/4 of an hour. Therefore, Nicole and Christian had to wait another painful 5 hours before the team wheeled out Anais on his own bed. Christian leaned over to give him a kiss and said, "I love you, Pumpkin. You look just like your brother." But the boys weren't out of danger quite yet. After all, the first 72 hours after the surgery are the most crucial. Since Jaden and Anais shared some brain tissue, Dr. Goodrich had to carefully cut between them. And since the shared brain tissue was likely part of their motor cortex, it's possible this could affect feeling in parts of the boys' bodies. In fact, as of late October 2016, Jason had shown no movement on the left side of his body, but his father said the boy's right side was strong. "Jaden will squeeze your fingers and not let go on his right side," Christian said. It was too soon to tell whether Jaden would regain feeling, but his parents were just happy that the boys were stable and separated.
It's not that I'm not optimistic. I guess I'm just more curious what the future holds for them. But I guess I don't want to get my hopes up. You know, I guess I just take it one day at a time.
The recovery will of course be long and slow, but Anais' seizures have already been brought under control with the help of anti-seizure medications. And thankfully, Jaden has had his breathing tubes removed. In fact, Nicole was finally able to hold her son on his own for the first time. She said, "I looked down on Jason's angelic face and saw him in a way I've never seen him before." Let's hope that this family gets many more experiences like that in years to come.
I think about their future all the time. I think about the first time they go to a park, and I think about, them getting married someday. I've thought through their whole future 100 times already.
If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.